What's going on YouTube? Cloverbell here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Mimikyu for the Regulation D format. You know, Mimikyu has gone slept on, I believe, you know, in this format, right? Just because there's another ghost fairy type by the name of Flutter Mane, right? But you know who didn't sleep on Mimikyu, and you know who noticed Mimikyu? Us. Yes, there's not too much that goes around that we don't get to pick up on, and Mimikyu is one of those Pokemon where, you know, it's not used so much, but when it is used, it has some good results. And what we're going to do is look at some of those results and see how people have utilized Mimikyu to their teams, right? But overall, let's just take a look at what Mimikyu can do as a whole, right? So basically, again, like we said, it's a Ghost Fairy type, just like Flutter Mane. Okay, the bulk isn't all that super great, but it does have base 80 defense and 105 special defense. So that's like not too bad. The speed is actually decent, okay? The HP, of course, like we said, is not so great, but the selling point is, of course, Disguise, right? Where you can pretty much just take one big hit and live to tell the tale, right? So 1/8 of your HP damage, right? Which is really good back in like Dynamax formats where like you would just take the biggest max steel spike and not really care, just only take a little bit of chip damage from your health, okay? And then the other idea is like, you know, Urshifu, you can take one of Urshifu's hits, right? The Rapid Strike one. And then after the Disguise is broken, then the other two hits, you just take normal damage, right? So then you can actually technically survive the Urshifu Surging Strikes damage, right? So you have that going for you. But then at the same time, like I said, you always have Play Rough, okay, which is your Stab Fairy move, which is actually pretty good into the format. I would say, you know, Fairy coverage just in general. Great into Dragonite, Chien-Pao, great into, you know, the other dragons, like Dragapult is rising again, so that's another thing that you can always use it against, okay? And then you also have a priority move in Shadow Sneak, so you can snipe potential Flutter Manes, especially if you have something like a Life Orb, for example. Now, that being said, they are a little bit bulkier this time around, and, you know, they can survive from full health, but ideally, again, you know, if you have something like Chien-Pao on your team, you can definitely actually pick up that KO in general, right? And there are some Life Orb Mimikyus, I should say, running around. So this is one type of set that you can also consider. And because you can also take one of those Urshifu Surging Strikes, some people have also been opting for like Rocky Helmet, bulky Mimikyu sets, right? And it makes a lot of sense. You know, just, you know, consider Chien-Pao and then consider Urshifu. You know, Rocky Helmet, again, the best item in Regulation D, can really pay dividends against Pokemon like this, right? And then at the same time, you know, being a ghost type, an opposing Dragonite, you can't even E-speed this thing, right? So Mimikyu actually has quite a bit going for it when you consider all things in terms of what it can offer. And then the support move of it is, of course, you know, Trick Room, right? So you can slap this onto some of your hyper offensive teams in place of like a Flutter Mane, and then just opt for like a physical Trick Room route. And then at the same time, you also get access to something like Will-O-Wisp, right? So now, at the same time, you get something for damage mitigation, right? And again, this is something that Flutter Mane doesn't get access to, so the fact that you can also go for this is also quite good. And then don't forget the tool that you can also use against Dondozo, which is actually Curse, right? However, that being said, you know, just remember what Curse can do. You know, if you're not a ghost, you're going to get +1. Other than that, you know, you're just going to deal chip damage against, you know, opposing Pokemon, right? So really, really good way to trap Dondozo in that sense, right? Sometimes it takes a while for the curse damage to keep on ticking, but other than that, it has been used, okay? And with Dondozo slowly rising up again in the Regulation D meta, you know, it is a tool that one can explore, right? So there's that route if you want to go for it. But other than that, you know, you can also just go simply for a straight up Shadow Claw on this thing, where, you know, you just get regular stab, ghost damage, of course. All right, but then at the same time, you know, if you don't want to get taunted for the Trick Room step, you can also go like Mental Herb. So this way you can like almost guarantee that you're going to get Trick Room up, especially if you have something like a Rillaboom on your team, right? So if you have Rillaboom plus Mental Herb Mimikyu, right, you can fake out one slot, and then basically the other slot that's left, even if it has like a KO move, it won't KO you because of Disguise, right? So some fake out mon is always really good with Mimikyu. But back in like Sword and Shield days, you used to do like Incineroar Mimikyu leads. Just click fake out, Trick Room, then Parting Shot, get your Trick Room Sweeper in, and then from there, just keep on going, right? So that's the idea behind Mimikyu. So I suspect that, you know, it will be played a little bit more as the format progresses, just because like it has some tools that Flutter Mane just does not give you, okay? And then what we can do is just take a look at some of these teams and see where it has been most successful thus far. So this way we can give you some ideas as to far as, you know, what can you use Mimikyu, right? And what kind of teams and cores and builds Mimikyu is ideal for, right? But in terms of like a very standard EV set, you know, you can just simply go adamant, go to like about 125, I would say. You know, so this way after like a +1, for example, you can outspeed a modest Flutter Mane. Max the attack. It doesn't really have the greatest of attack size, so you might just go like full adamant here, and then just dump the rest into HP like this, you know, which is pretty good in terms of, you know, for the disguise ability, right? So that's the idea here. So now let's take a look and preview some of these successful teams that have used Mimikyu thus far. Okay, so right here we're gonna look at the most recent Nino tour, and this is from someone who made day 2. Violet 9-5 record, good result. And this actually has the Chien-Pao, like we mentioned, with this Mimikyu Rocky Helmet set. It's Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, and Taunt. Oh, we forgot about Taunt. And then, of course, Trick Room here. So Terra Water is actually really nice, especially against Urshifu. You know, the Surging Strike damage is going to do a lot. And then you can do more damage with the Chien-Pao on the field. You know, and then Shadow Sneak, along with Chien-Pao, can potentially pick up Flutter Manes. And then from here, Crest, Ursaluna, Iron Hands, very standard, you know, Trick Room trio. If I had to build a Trick Room team, I would always start with Crest, Ursaluna, Iron Hands. Start with those 3, and then the other 3 can just be like whatever you want. You can literally just put like Urshifu, Chien-Pao, and then even here you can put like Mimikyu, Flutter Mane. You can put Heatran, Rillaboom, Amoonguss, right? That kind of sense, right? So we understand what this is doing. This is basically another Trick Room setter along with Cresselia. That can also enable, you know, Ursaluna, Iron Hands from that matter, and then it can also function with Chien-Pao and even the Urshifu, right? So that's a pretty good idea. Then if we go into our previous Nino tournaments, right? This was Nino Tournament 72. This one is the Pokebros Tour number 71. FSU fan had a similar idea again, but now there is an Amoonguss, right? As opposed to the Urshifu. Makes a lot of sense, okay? Life Orb, Heatran, Iron Hands, Amoonguss here. So, you know, similar idea, similar concept, but Mimikyu does do well as opposed to a Flutter Mane on these Cresselia Ursaluna teams, right? So you have that going for you. And then also note that this one is a Mental Herb Mimikyu with Terra Grass. So similar ideas, you know, afraid of getting taunted. This one is very useful against, you know, getting around Amoonguss. But here you see Taunt yet again. So here's another idea for Mimikyu on a Trick Room team, okay? Then if we can go into a hyper-offensive team like this, this almost looks like the Eric Rios team with Regidrago, Tornadus, Goldango, and then there's no, of course, Furigraph here. So, you know, there's Rillaboom, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, and then here's a Mimikyu in its sense, right? So another Rocky Helmet Terra Grass set with Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, Taunt, Trick Room. So that's a very standard set that we're seeing so far. But again, now you can also see Mimikyu being used on some of these hyper-offensive teams. So not only do you have Tailwind on your team, now you have Trick Room as well. So this is another cool way of utilizing Mimikyu to this end. So now you have a Dragon Fairy Steel combination, right? Because the Regidrago is Terra Steel as well. And then a Grass type and a Water type here. No Fire type, but that's still okay. But in that sense, yeah. Oh, and then of course Goldango is your Steel type. So Regidrago, Goldango, Mimikyu. So you have that going for you. All right, and then also Mimikyu has a pretty good speed stat where like this thing can still function under Tailwind, right? You can pretty much outspeed everything under Tailwind too. So, you know, Mimikyu is actually very flexible on these Tail Room teams, right? So don't sleep on it. And if I had to try and use Mimikyu, actually, I would probably do something similar to this where I have it with Regidrago and Tornadus, right? Along with Rillaboom over here, some fake out setter, right? And then Ursh, right? Goldango was pretty good as well. Double Ghost type, but that's still okay, right? In my opinion, that's still fine. 2 fundamentally different Pokemon. But yeah, this is something that I would definitely consider and try and use if I had to like really use Mimikyu. As we move forward, again, this is something that's another kind of hyper offensive team. This is from the Golden Magikarp Cup, a 4-2 results here. So a smaller tour, but again, nonetheless, you can kind of see the idea here with Tornadus, plus a fake out mod with Rillaboom, and here's the Mimikyu Rocky Helmet Terra Water set. This one has the Will-O-Wisp and the Curse set. That's why I'm also featuring it here, because again, with Mimikyu, you have that neutralizing move in Will-O-Wisp, then you have the Curse concept where you can just, you know, chip things away. Makes a lot of sense here. And then, of course, Gashadon, Chiyu, Rillaboom. Here's your Fire, Water, Grass core, you know, to say the least. And Cleaver with Choice Band is gonna do a bunch of damage here. So this is another creative idea in how to use it. Then within another tournament, the Hoenn State Kai Cup, Sky Cup, I should say. So here's Chien-Pao Mimikyu again, but then here's Dragonite, right? So now, once again, we have Dragonite, Mimikyu, Heatran. Again, that patented VGC core of a Dragon Fairy Steel type. Here's the Iron Hands again. Iron Hands, Heatran, Amoonguss is also low-key like another core that you can also utilize. But again, so instead of Flutter Mane here, which is something where you would normally find it, you can also use Heatran here. I'm sorry, Mimikyu, all right, with the Trick Room route. So there's that concept. And then again, this is a Life Orb Mimikyu, right? So I've been showing you all kinds of Mimikyu sets here. You know, it's very flexible, whereas, you know, some of them were more supportive. This one is a little bit more aggressive and more offensive, right? So Life Orb Mimikyu does a lot of damage, especially when you have Chien-Pao paired next to it, right? So you're able to put on a bunch of pressure against a lot of those Urshifus. And then from that matter, you can also pressure the Flutter Manes too, because you have Life Orb Shadow Sneak. So they have to be aware of that. Okay, so that you got that going for it. And then we'll just take a look at one more team over here. Again, within the same Nino Pokeburster number 71, Gabir over here. And again, it's Tornadus plus some Fake Out Mon and Rillaboom. Here's the Mimikyu again. And it's some form of Fire, Water, Grass core with Iron Bundle, Rillaboom, and Heatran. And if you haven't noticed, it's very easy to like just use some template ideas where you just pick an archetype, slap on a Fire, Water, Grass core, and then have some filler slot, right? So again, so with Iron Bundle, Rillaboom, okay, so like Icy Wind Speed Control here, you have Tailwind. This one is Play Rough, Will-O-Wisp, and Protect with Pixie Plate. Okay, so almost like the Life Orb idea, but instead of taking chip damage, now we have the Pixie Plate. And then this is almost like a mix set where like we're offensive with the Play Rough, but still supportive with the Will-O-Wisp. And we even have Protect here, so that's another idea. But again, the whole idea is still somewhat the same where like you can slap on these Mimikyu teams and basically add some balance to these hyper offensive teams, right? Because you can't just go full offense with Tornadus Tailwind and go pew 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 pew, right? Because the other team can just say, you know what, I'm gonna click Trick Room, and then that's it, you're done. So, and then, or if they have a Frigwrath, right? But now when you add Mimikyu, now you make them think twice, because now you can just flip their Trick Rooms or whatever Trick Room Super they can bring in, you can just Will-O-Wisp it, and then at the same time, you know, you can stall out those Trick Room turns, and then from there, just finish the game off with your faster, hyper offensive options, right? So multiple ways of using Mimikyu, right? And hopefully I gave you some ideas into how to use it. But again, my personal pick from the 6 teams is actually this one here, where, oh, actually, you know what? This one's actually pretty good too. I like this one from FSU fan, right? So let's actually, yeah, these are two really, really good teams. I like these two the most, right? Crest, Ursaluna with Amoonguss, Mimikyu, Iron Hands. That's a really good, solid idea. And then over here, the Regidrago Tornadus team. That's also really good. So either you explore the Trick Room route, or you explore Mimikyu as a balance option on these hyper offensive ideas, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I just really wanted to spotlight Mimikyu here because I feel like it was a little bit slept on in Regulation E, but you know, when it was used, it did get some good results. Like I showed you here, it wasn't like a one-trick pony. I showed you like 6 tours where like it did well. Okay, so definitely give Mimikyu some consideration, right? And if you want to build a Mimikyu team and you need a little bit of help, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. Again, it's a tier 3 sub to the channel. We've been getting a lot of people to Top Cut tournaments and getting them some CP and some regionals, right? And that's going to be probably, you know, true again when people enlist my services back in, you know, in September. But for the meantime, if you've got a local coming up, if you've got, you know, some premier challenge or just need something for online rank ladder play, you know, until you're getting ready for your next regional, feel free to sign up with the tier 3 sub to the channel for coaching. The video description has the link. The comment section has a pinned comment, and every single video has a join now button where you can sign up for coaching. And then you can message me on Discord, and then we can coordinate a session, you know, where we can meet one-on-one on a call and then plan the team out and then hash out all the EVs like you see here as we've done in all our team building videos. All right, so let me know what you think of Mimikyu. Let me know how you've used it. We'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.